ये स्पष्ट था कि सरकार के दृष्टिकोण में कि देश की अर्थव्यवस्था का जो बुनियादी ढांचा है आज भी बहुत मजबूत है।
Even as the finance minister presented an encouraging picture of the state of the economy and reforms undertaken by the government, many weren't happy with the impact of these reforms.
ट्रेडर्स को देखो, ये अब फिलहाल 6 महीना एक बरस तक नुकसान होने वाला ही है। उसके बाद अगर चेंज हुआ तो अलग बात है, बाकी अभी तो नुकसान है ट्रेडर्स को।
To ease the GST burden on citizens, the finance minister has waived off the fee charged for delayed filing of the goods and service tax returns for August and September. But despite these measures, the confusion persists. And the goods and service tax continues to grab political headlines for all the wrong reasons.
इनकी जो जीएसटी है, ये जीएसटी नहीं है, जीएसटी गब्बर सिंह टैक्स।
So on the urban debate tonight, we ask, has the GST hurt India? And has it become a political tool? Mirror Now report.
You're watching the Urban Debate on Mirror Now. Faye D'Souza, thank you for joining us. We're talking about the GST, and there's a reason why we need to understand what's going on with GST, because it's become such a political hot potato. The Gabbar Singh tax, as it was called by Rahul Gandhi of the Congress. And right now, the raging debate that's taking place in Chennai over the film Mersal that was actually edited because it criticized GST in one dialogue. You have to remember that film always depicts what's going on in society. If you remember, the angry young man back in the 70s was depicting what was going on in society. Also, the confusion that has now been created about the fact that politicians have come out and questioned the actor Vijay's religion as a reason to criticize GST. GST has no religion. No tax has religion in this country. It's equal for us all, and criticism should be allowed. But we're setting all of that aside. You know how we don't politicize. We've actually got an entire panel of shopkeepers and traders and businessmen to come in today from across the country and actually tell us the truth about GST. Politics aside, is it truly hurting business? What are the difficulties they're facing? And the government, we have to acknowledge, has constantly been tweaking and changing things with the GST. It's also, waived off or forgiven the fines that traders would have had to pay for 2 straight months. Has that not helped? Are they still in pain? Is GST truly hurting India? And our phone lines are open for anybody at home who is an entrepreneur, or if you're self-employed, you're a freelancer, and you've been facing any sort of problems, or you want to share a positive story. Pick up the phone and call us, because like we always do, we're shoving the politics aside and we're focusing on the real stories. What's really happening in the country? Is GST good? Is GST bad? Is it a good and simple tax, or is it a Gabbar Singh tax? We're going to find out today. Joining me on the show, Syed Zafar Islam is the spokesperson of the BJP, Sanjay Jha of the Congress Party, K.E. Raghunathan is the national president of the All India Manufacturers Association, joining us from Chennai. Viren Shah, president of the Federation of Retail Traders Welfare, joining us in Mumbai. Mohan Guruswamy is an economist. Praveen Khandelwal is the secretary of the Confederation of All India Traders, joining us in Noida. And Pratap Chandan is the treasurer of the Gujarat Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and also the chairman of the Federation of Gujarat State Edible Oil Merchants Association, joining us in Ahmedabad. Welcome all of you to the show. Thank you so much for giving us your time. I'm going to do a round of questioning, especially for the businessmen who've joined us to help us understand what's really going on. Viren, I will start with you. You've been part of several discussions on this channel. Is GST hurting traders, and how much?
Well, GST, when it was supposed to be brought in India, we all traders have welcomed the GST. We didn't know that GST would become 3-4 different types of tax slab, and where it is hurting is the tax slab. There are 4 different types of tax slab. There are hundreds and thousands of items, and to do the basically submission time, that's where the smallest of small traders are having problems to understand the different codes setting up, understanding the whole thing. The main problem of the GST, overall GST, one tax, uniform tax, there is no problem. But because of too many tax slab, too many submission, that's where the problems comes in the time of implementation. And this is where the government has failed. And I'm thankful to the Congress party and the election which is coming up in the Gujarat. And also, of course, there are some disappointment with traders all around across the India. This has made the government onto the back foot, and they have started coming up with a lot of relaxation, which is a welcome step as on today. But as you said, Gabbar Singh, this is not the end of the Gabbar Singh, it's just an interval. The main picture is still left. We have to wait for the finale.
So quantify, let's say there's a trader or a retailer in Mumbai. Has business come down?
Well, the business has come down for many reasons. One is the demonetization. After that, the GST, the way it was implemented, and also the slowdown in the economy overall. So I don't think GST is the only factor, but because of there are several factors, the business has come down. Overall, the traders, the small traders and medium-sized traders all across India is not happy with the slowdown in the economy.
How much has business come down?
I can say roughly around 30% business has come down compared to the last year. When the demonetization happened, the business was down by 70-80%. It improved in January, February. Again, it went down when the GST announced. And the Diwali was not as good as Diwali used to be for many years.
All right.
This is where the problems.
It was a very weak Diwali.
Yes.
All right. Let me get the views in from the rest of our panelists. Pratap Chandan of the Gujarat Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Mr. Chandan, of course, this GST question has become the point of discussion before the elections. But I actually want to understand from the organization that you represent, are traders really suffering, and if yes, by how much? What kind of suffering are we talking about?
There are several points on which the traders are suffering. Mainly they are procedural things. Say for an example, we can say that the GST network itself is not ready. So people, those who are not at fault, they have to pay penalty. Apart from that, there are 3-4 major points where this reform system itself requires some sort of reforms. For example, the number of returns they could have reduced for say up to 5 crore or 10 crores turnover, or they should have given better time limits for filing the various 3-4 returns a month. After 10 days of the completion of the month, they have to file first return. They could have given the 25 days, or they could have made even 3 monthly returns, as they have done it for 1.5 crore turnover. They could have extended this threshold limit for them also. RCM, reverse charge mechanism, is also one of the major point which is hurting the small and medium scale business people. And also the e-way bill system, though postponed just now, but it can come after 1st January, and it will have a lot of problems, lot of tensions, and lot of fear and doubts amongst the business community. So these 3-4 points, if government can solve it, then I think most of the problems can be solved.
Well, tell me something, Mr. Chandan. Are people likely, or are the Vyaparis of Gujarat likely to vote in the state elections based on GST, or is it just politics at this point?
Well, I will not go into the political aspect of it, but of course there are doubts and fears amongst the business community so far as the GST structure is concerned, or the implementation of GST is concerned. So it is creating a little bit of ill will against the authorities. It can have an effect on this, but that is not my point. My point is to solve these problems.
All right, Praveen Khandelwal, Confederation of All India Traders. Is it the same in the north as well?
In principle, GST is a good taxation system, no doubt about it. The whole problem lies with the implementation part of GST. The gross unawareness about the basic fundamentals of GST and compliance thereof. Still, even after more than about 4 months, large section of traders across country are still unaware, and there is no mechanism through which traders can be taught the basic fundamentals of GST. They still don't know that there are 9 types of invoices prescribed under GST for 9 types of conditions. There are so many other issues, and piecemeal solutions have made GST a complicated taxation system, which is certainly going against the basic fundamental of GST, which is widening the tax base and voluntary compliance. So my point is that of course there are on the one side it is GST portal which is not working smoothly. On the other side there is a tax slab of 28% which is pinching not only the traders but even the consumers as well. On the third side of it, there are procedural lapses, procedural lacunas. On the fourth side of it, there is gross unawareness. So together, if we take all these points, so certainly the traders have become a missing lot in the whole situation, and we are finding it very difficult to make us comply with the GST taxation system.
Well, I want to bring in one more view, and that's the view from Chennai before I bring in the political representatives. Thank you for being patient and listening in. K.E. Raghunathan, what is the state right now for the All India Manufacturers Association that you represent in Chennai?
The small-scale industries in the last 4 months of GST implementation has moved from ICU to coma stage. Very sad. We are playing very hard with the industry. Not acceptable. Let me list out. I don't want to get into the merits of the GST or the demerits, but let me put out few aspects of the points which are technical, which are even after 4 months remain unsolved. Let's take the point number 1. Less than 20 lakhs traders who were under VAT were migrated to GST automatically with an option that they can surrender their certificate after the migration. Till today, surrender is not possible. There is no information when it will be possible. Second point, the GSTR1, which needs to be filed, for example, by 10th of October, and from 11th of October till 31st of October, GSTR2 is filed. And the GSTR2, when it is in vogue, the GSTR1 is disabled. That means I can file my GSTR1 only on 1st of September, next month. I still pay for the 20 days of penalty, the interest on the penalty,
but the penalty
not
has been waived
acceptable.
off.
Yes.
Cash flow problems. Let's get into the GSTR3B. Once submitted, cannot be amended. Let's get into the advance tax. A small-scale industry, if he gets an order for 100 rupees, if his raw material is costing him 80 rupees, with great difficulty he gets 30 rupees as an advance. He borrows money for 50 rupees to buy the raw material. Now the government wants him to pay, let's say, 18% GST on even that 30 rupees. How will he survive? Where is his cash flow? You acknowledge there is an NPA increase. You acknowledge there is a clutch on the industries. Are you aware? The middle level people are getting jobless now. 40 to 45 age group jobless has become increased.
Yes.
They are the most dangerous side of the joblessness. They have dependents at home, parents, children, grown up. They are not easy to be handled. This is not the way. And you go to the help desk. If you make a call to the help desk, you do it yourself. Whatever I am saying, my dear political friends, let's not play politics with industries. This is country. This means revolutions. We have to improvise. We cannot put people under coma.
Yes.
People will fight back. This is our hard opinion. I'll take on further as we go along the debate.
Yes. So there's a general consensus among the representatives of industry, manufacturing, traders from Chennai, from Noida, from Ahmedabad, from Mumbai, that the implementation has left a lot to be desired. Ravi is also on the phone from Chennai. I'm going to take as many calls as we can. Ravi, very quickly, go ahead. What's your point? Ravi? Abhishek from Pune. Abhishek, go ahead. All right, we'll bring in callers in a little while. Let me go over to Syed Zafar Islam of the BJP. Mr. Islam, thank you for listening very patiently while our other panelists put their points forward. What is your reaction to what you're hearing right now?
Well, I heard everyone very patiently and very passionately also, because it's an industry which was giving their response, their feedback, and which is very, very relevant for all of us in the government, and it is very important feedback for people who are implementing GST. Let me give the response to each of them, and a generic response, because there are two feedback which I could gather. One, that they are genuinely facing some difficulties or many difficulties in implementing or using GST. The other is that there is some level of ignorance, because people are not trying to dirty their hand and not willing to experience GST. So there are two types of feedback from the representatives, industry representatives.
The lack of information and ignorance is not the same thing, Syed, Mr. Islam.
You don't expect a government to give
let me
even
just
after 4 months a one-page advertisement
third thing,
of
of course,
clarification.
that they are also looking for a mechanism to get. No, let me just complete. The third feedback, which is also relevant, very relevant feedback, that they feel that there has to be some mechanism or medium for the people to get educated and get acknowledged with through the process of GST. So all the feedback, I'm just narrating the feedback what they have received. All I can say, that the feedback, whatever being received by the industry representative, by the business communities, by the people who are using GST for filing their tax return, I must tell you that the government is very open to such feedback, because the intent of the government is to implement GST and to roll out GST was very, very, very clear. Now we knew that there will be some difficulties, because it is not an easy task to implement. Whether you roll out today or whether you roll out after 6 months, you will always find difficulties in implementing something. And those teething problem is something which government is very, very clear that needs to be addressed. Those concerns, whatever has been expressed,
so I understand what you're saying, but you know,
needs to be addressed, will get addressed.
And I'll come back, Viren, very quickly. I want to go to Mohan Guruswamy and Sanjay Jha, but very quickly, how often has the government had conversations with the association you represent?
Last 10 seconds.
Yes.
Last 10 seconds.
Go ahead, Islam. Go ahead, Mr. Islam.
Last 10 seconds. All I'm saying that the people are talking about different rates. Different rate is primarily because we are a country where people are living in below the poverty line. People are middle class, upper middle class, lower middle class, and different people have different budget to spend. And I think the government's responsibility to ensure that everyone's interest is being safeguarded. And if you have one rate across across all kind of people, then obviously who will be the biggest loser is the poor people, and that is something have been safeguarded in this by having multiple rates.
Let me just put out this information, and I'm holding with me, and you say the government has been responsive. This is what I call the GST protest list, starting in January this year. But and I'm just going to read this out. June 18, textile industry in Gujarat was protesting, came to a halt. July 3rd, 1,000 theatres across Tamil Nadu. July 1st, in Kolkata, all of the wholesale hubs and local grocery shops shut down. Kozhikode, Thiruvananthapuram, on the 8th of July, poultry dealers, traders, merchants in Kerala shut down. In New Delhi, truckers went on a 2-day strike. This was the All India Transport Motors. Ludhiana suing machine traders in October. Lottery traders in Maharashtra in August, cloth merchants in Rajasthan in Jaipur on June 28th, major markets in Bhopal July 1st, in Chennai, all of the small shops in August, in Meerut, handloom markets, Western Uttar Pradesh.
Same breath.
Yes.
I think so in the same breath.
Yes, one second. Viren Shah of the Federation of Retail Traders, how often have you been asked for feedback?
I think it will be very fair. No, but let me just interrupt you for 5 seconds. In the same breath, you should also mention that how many times the GST Council has met to address this concern. That is also important and relevant point, because number of times GST Council have met is unprecedented, and all the times that the representatives
it will be
from
unprecedented,
all
Mr. Islam, to be fair, because the GST Council itself is a new thing, so there's no precedent for the GST Council.
Every day basis during the first 15 days.
How many times have you been asked for feedback, or your association's been asked for feedback?
See, I have to be very clear that no small traders association, no medium-sized traders association ever been taken into confidence or ever been asked what are your problems. Only to the media channels.
Pre and post GST?
Yes. No, now post GST, there are several representation done by us, and government is very open, flexible. I must give credit to them. But I want to ask one question to the BJP spokesperson. I want to ask how many countries this GST 28% applies to, and how many products out of 88,000 has 28% GST? Can you reply this, because you must have done some homework before coming here. I want to know how many countries are under 28% of the slab of the GST. Please answer to this.
No, but you can do this, Google yourself. Why come to the debate and ask this?
Sir,
no,
don't waste the time.
Exactly, this is my problem.
Okay, I have to bring in, all right, I get the point. I want to bring in Mohan Guruswamy, Sanjay Jha. Mohan Guruswamy, the finance minister just did a presentation today where he talked about how promising our economy is. But if we just go by what these gentlemen have told us right now, and they each represent an association or a confederation of traders and manufacturers, this is worrying words.
It does. You know, the finance minister is living in a world of his own. He's restating what the government has been planning from before on everything. Refinance of the banks and, building of the roads, all that is already there in the plans. Already they're underway. Roads are being built. So, he keeps announcing them again and again as if it's a new package. And then restating that, basic fundamentals of India are right. There's a demographic dividend possible. There's a large growing market. That's also everybody knows. And it's growing quite fast relative to what it was growing in the decades before. That's also true. But the thing is that, our problems are also mounting. We need to create 12 million jobs a year. And you haven't created any jobs last year. Not even a few lakhs. And that is your problem. You got joblessness is increasing, so you got to step up investment. You don't have money for investment. You got all kinds of wasteful expenditures. So you're being hit from all sides. So that he hasn't addressed today at all. And he keeps saying fundamentals are fine, fundamentals are fine. We all know it's fine. The whole world knows it's fine. Don't keep repeating what we know. But tell us what you want to do. How are you going to get investment up? He's got no plans. He's given a plan for 6 lakh crores for the roads, and he says 2 lakh crores will come from private sector. When you've seen what's happened in Gurgaon and Noida when all the toll plazas have been pulled down. Who's going to put roads up in this country on private sector money? So this is just kind of wishing away things. And if you had recapitalization of banks should have been done in 2014. At that time, the requirement was 94,000 crores. He wasted 3 years and is doing it now at 2,11,000 crores. A lakh and something, crores is wasted because of delays, because these people can't make up their minds.
Where that money is going to come from?
And they try to package the same thing again and again. So they have no solutions. They have no clue. Even GST. You should have introduced it in stages by sectors. You didn't do that. You came in with a big bang, midnight announcement like, Independence Day speech, and, nothing happened. So people are confused.
People are confused.
Don't know what to do. Even, forget about small and medium industry. Even large companies are confused on how to fill the returns. As a result, people are postponing things. The economy has been affected, and the decline in growth is even more than the 2% the government is admitting to, because they keep padding up the economy, they keep padding up figures, and they come up with strange figures. They're living in a completely dream world.
Right, let me bring in Sanjay Jha. Sanjay Jha, the Prime Minister, Sanjay Jha, the Prime Minister made a statement while on campaign, where he said that GST was a collective decision of various political parties, of all political parties. And he's right. It was passed by Parliament. It was a collective decision. And it was something that the Congress UPA government started. What's the problem now? Where is the criticism coming from now, Sanjay Jha?
To the implementation which is the problem.
Faye, I will keep my answer rather brief. I hope you can hear me very clearly.
We can, yes.
The answer in short is deeply unfortunate that the architecture of the GST, which was prepared by the Congress-led UPA, and is a historic tax reform, there is no doubt about it. The fact that even months after it has been implemented, the country has recognized it's been a disastrous implementation and a terrible execution, I think the government of the day needs to just be man enough to take full responsibility for it. You know, today is disrupting the economy. It's the small traders who are terribly inconvenienced. I'll tell you my own experience with them. I was in Pune just 10 days ago, going to meet a whole lot of, young professionals in Pune. And there was a gentleman there, and, I asked him, so what do you do? And he said, I have 3 shops. And so I said, how are you doing? Diwali is your boom time. And he said, listen, if I was doing well, I really wouldn't have had the time to sit here and have a conversation, because 2 of my shops are closed. And the one shop where I would normally make an X quantity of goods, I only now take pre-orders. Otherwise, I don't even make the sweets because I'm not sure who's going to buy them from me. Now, that to me is symptomatic of the larger problem. I think there was a gentleman, one of the traders, who correctly mentioned the complete, disruption in cash flows. And, the small traders survive on cash transactions. I mean, they don't have the luxury of bank credits. In fact, if you look at the data phase, disconcerting. Public sector banks, the lending to the smaller sectors is actually diminished, and the private sector lends to the big groups. So, there is a complete disorganization that has completely, shall we say, disheveled the economic structure of India. Now, this is not hollow phrases. These are not, just criticism for the sake of it. And one last point. You see, when you expand your tax base, Mr. Jaitley goes now talking as if nobody in this country understands economics other than him. Does he realize that when you include lakhs of people into the tax base, they're not used to filing returns? They probably haven't even invested in a computer or the hardware or the software to, comprehend how it is done. I mean, they are apprehensive about how and the laws are so strict that today, if somebody fails to correctly file a GST return, he can actually be arrested because it's deemed as an offense, which has very serious consequences. So there is fear. And that, I think, has accentuated the complete misery of the trading community. And the impact is now on the manufacturing sector.
All right.
Right.
I want to take a couple of phone calls. Ravi's on the phone from Chennai. I beg your pardon. Ravi, go ahead.
Yeah. Thanks, yeah.
Yes.
First, I want to document as a common man perspective. It's this year Diwali is one of the worst Diwali I faced ever. Apart from unemployment, bonus, salary issue, which has arisen from demonetization, this GST really made a lot of impact on a common man.
What kind of business are you in, Ravi?
I'm self-employed. Also being a small tax practitioner.
Okay.
To be honest, I also applied for GST tax practitioner 3 months back. I just got the temporary number. I'm yet to get the final approval from the department. That's the pathetic situation going on the server. Anyway, I don't want to comment right on that one issue. Coming back to Diwali issue, from Chennai perspective, I want to document here is unique issues going on. On the movie tickets,
yes.
The government first said it is one nation, one tax. But in Tamil Nadu, you can see that from the GST, they also levying the
local body taxes. Yes. Right. So Ravi's making a very good point here that there have been states and cities that have been allowed to put a local body tax over and above the GST. And the whole point of GST was to make sure that there are no extra taxes. Abhishek from Pune. Abhishek, very quickly, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question as a layman guy. I'm an end user. Basically.
Yes.
I'm not a businessman.
Yes.
But my point is that how long this havoc or this confusion is going to continue. Like, for example, I'm going to a restaurant. I am paying VAT over a non-alcoholic drink, which should come into the GST. Some restaurants are taking VAT. Some restaurants are taking GST. Every time I cannot search on web that what is in GST, what is not in GST.
Yes.
And this is going to affect a lot to our life.
Yes, I understand what you're saying. Absolutely. There's a lot of confusion about what restaurants are charging and what they're actually, what part of that is actually GST and what is not. I'm going to open up the panel now for anyone who has a point to make. Mr. Raghunathan, I saw you put your hand up. Yeah, I want to understand what sort of a Diwali did you see in Chennai this year?
No, this was a dark Diwali. I don't represent from Chennai. I represent All India Manufacturers Organization, which has 550,000 members across the country, industries. Now, let me tell you, an analogy. The cars were moving in a safe direction. Suddenly, I find a no entry mark. I look left side and right side, there is no turns available. I continue to go further because I have no other choice. I see a policeman waiting and collecting a fine from me. I have no choice. I told you industries are getting into coma. The industrialists are spending more time with auditors and computers and learning things. And now we have started even learning tweaks because our finance minister tweaks on the policies about the GST.
Mr. Raghunathan,
Suddenly,
Mr.
we all
Raghunathan,
rush up, wake up the
Mr.
whole night.
Mr. Raghunathan, let me ask you a few questions.
My dear, you please wait.
Mr. Raghunathan,
you will be able to address many debates, but I have only one debate to address because this is my lifetime problem. This is our lifetime problem. The more you listen, it is good for your government, it is good for you because we are giving you the field level reactions. I don't need your reactions. Please wait. Please wait. This is not a point for you to counter debate. I am just giving you what's happening in the field. I am not against you. Please, I am with you. I am helping you.
Go ahead, Mr. Raghunathan. Go ahead. The point you were making.
You need to help me. You need to help me. So the point here is, we find
Mr. Raghunathan, please go ahead.
Deepavali was a dark Deepavali, and the people are finding the crash crunch. We are learning different changes coming in. We worked day and night to fill within a due date. Suddenly, now it is saying, I don't have any problem if I extend the date. Now, next time, I would definitely take it easy. Second point, you keep changing the rates or you keep talking about changing the rates or easing out. How will I then do business today? My giving an offer has become stopped now. Collecting an order has become stopped now because people are expecting there may be a change in the GST. There may be a reduction in GST. Things are going. When you need to make a decision instantly, I was sad to see the person talking that the GST Council has met number of times. I am sad. They should have met on daily basis in at least the first 15 days. They should have made decisions instantly, not belatedly. When it comes to the revenues, the decisions are made quickly. Additional revenue for the government, decisions are made quickly.
Yes.
When it comes to the benefits for the industries, decisions are not made at all. This is not the first time we are telling you the problems. This is the fourth month. We are finding it painful. We are not able to bear. You have pushed us into the coma. We will not be able to survive. If we do not survive, people will not be able to survive. Please wake up. Please wake up. I stop here.
I want to add here, add to what Mr. Raghunathan is saying. Our Prime Minister has come out with the Make in India concept. And I don't understand when it started with such a big publicity and marketing and the way it was announced. But the way the GST, the percentage and the slab is there, I don't think our India can compete with the international market, the kind of GST rates we have to spend. And if Make in India concept has to work, then GST rate has to come down. It has to be a competitive price for the international market. How are we going to survive? Because there is no sign of grassroots level of making this Make in India concept work. There is only just an advertisement announcement. After that, nothing happens.
All right, so I'm opening this up to everyone in the panel, but I know that Zafar Islam wanted to respond. Zafar Islam, go ahead, respond. And anyone on the panel who wants to say something, please gesture to me and let me know that you have something to say. Zafar Islam.
I would like to come in here.
No, again, I would say the same thing, that the feedback which is coming, it's not that the feedback which they are giving is giving for the first time, and that is something which has not been heard by the government. We are extremely open to all the feedbacks where genuinely people are struggling or facing problem. But there are something which I would like to ask, like for Mr. Raghunathan. I mean, I also being an Indian, I want to ask, not away from the wearing the hat of a spokesperson, but do you really see a disruption in supply side? I don't see any disruption in supply side because everything across India, everything is available in the marketplace. Secondly, Yes, filing and everything is, you may be finding it difficult, and rightly so. There are, because you are migrating from one tax system to another tax system, and maybe you find, you're finding it complicated. You're finding it,
my friend,
or someone is finding it.
Everything is available in plenty because there is no taker.
Mr. Raghunathan, just let me
Everything is available in plenty.
There are no takers, and for the takers, the process is too complicated.
So you are saying the consumption side. No,
but you know, Mr. Islam,
So
let me point out to you that Raghunathan represents all India manufacturers, Viren Shah represents retail traders, Praveen Khandelwal represents all India traders.
Question to Mr. Raghunathan, just to try.
And they are all in agreement.
On supply side, I understand. How come you consumption side he can
come in
even
here, please.
hold this? No, I'm asking a very simple question as a layman. That no, so if he is talking about the consumption side, is nothing to do with the filing of return. It is something which you are facing the problem at the manufacturing.
Mr. Islam, you know, I took economics in high school, and I can tell you that if the market and the economy is weak, people are not going to spend money, and that's what happens to consumption. Now, we can sit around and deny this as much as we can, but if we are really honest with each other, this was an extremely weak Diwali. We haven't seen such a weak Diwali in recent history.
All I'm trying to
I don't think it makes sense right now to question what these gentlemen are telling us. They're all India heads of very serious associations.
But let me also ask you, did you see that? Mr. D'Souza, let me ask you, did you see the two-wheeler sales, record sales ever in the history? No. Did you see those sales number? The Hero Honda sales number, what they published? Unprecedented.
Mohan Goswami, two-wheeler sales. Two-wheeler sales. How many two-wheeler sales in a country of 1.2 billion people? And how can we match that to economy?
Let them come out with these figures.
No, the rural demand is there. But look, it is not. It is. See, giving feedback is very important. We are heard passionately. We are willing to implement and take it in very right perspective. But painting a very bleak picture is something which is not warranted. That is something
Mr. Islam, nobody is painting a bleak picture. People are just sharing experiences here. Mohan Guruswamy, two-wheeler sales and rural demand. Go ahead.
You know, the two-wheeler segment is the bellwether of the economy. Last year at Dhanteras, Hero company, which is the biggest two-wheeler manufacturer in India with 37% of the market, produced 661,000 motorbikes and sold it. This year, and the market is growing at about 10 to 12% a year. This year, Hero Motor Company sold 7 lakh motor vehicles, two-wheelers, which is an increase of 40,000. If you're growing at 10%, 12%, then you're going to at least add up 60 to 70,000 a year, which didn't happen. So this guy keeps talking about market growing up. Sales went up, but not by enough. That is the problem. Economy is growing, but not enough. And you got to address not enough.
Not enough. Praveen Khandelwal.
It is growing. It could grow by 1%, could grow by 0.5%, but that's not growth. That's just not enough.
Praveen Khandelwal of the Confederation of All India Traders, answer the question of what does filing have to do with consumption? You can't blame weak consumption on GST, Praveen Khandelwal. That was a question that Zafar Islam asked. Please answer it.
Well, my point is that sale of scooters are not the indicators of doing GST good in the country. This sale is entirely different. Since we are discussing the basic fundamental issues of GST, so I just want to highlight some 2-3 points. The point number 1 is, since the traders, since GST is a destination-based taxation system, so ultimately the last consumer has to pay, and consumer is having a direct relationship with the retailer. So what steps have been taken to educate the last mile retailer about GST? Number 1. My second point is, today suppose if I have any query about GST, there is absolutely no nodal authority which can give me an authoritative clarification what my query is. My third point relates to Mr. Sanjay Jha. when why Mr. Jha is also criticizing? But Karnataka government is a part of all the decisions taken by GST Council. So whether let me complete, Mr. Jha. So and we have been told every time that each and every decision of the GST Council has been taken with unanimously. So Karnataka government is a part of the decisions taken by the council.
I'll answer you.
And traders of Karnataka are not in a better position than rest of the country. So what steps you have taken to improvise the situation of traders in Karnataka or wherever your government is?
Faye, can I answer him?
Sanjay Jha, go ahead.
Yeah. Firstly, let me tell the concerned gentleman, I quite understand and empathize with his current plight. But let me clarify this. This is in the public domain, and I speak with full responsibility for my party. I hope he's aware that the Congress party's GST structure, sir, did not envisage the multiple rates that are there in the GST, which is totally contrary to the spirit of one nation, one tax. So we kept telling Mr. Modi and Mr. Jaitley, this is a fundamentally flawed GST. Mr.
Representatives on the council.
This has been passed on the floor of the parliament where...
if I'm not
No, this is a very upset comment you are making, Mr. Jha. You are misleading the nation. You are misleading the nation,
If you don't interrupt me, I'm on Skype.
No, one second. Mr. Islam, let him finish. Let him finish, and then you can disagree with
interrupt me because I'm on Skype. It's a little difficult here. So my first point is, it is a flawed GST. This is not what the Congress party had anticipated. Point number two, we had put a maximum cap. In fact, we fought with this government to say don't increase the GST beyond 18%. I don't know your name, sir, but you're interrupting me, which is a little unfair. I think it's terribly unfair. Just let me finish. I won't take too long. I'm not here to make a speech. So the second point is the rate being, there are so many multiplicity of rates, and high rates have caused a further dampening to the impact. But let me make the point that you're asking about Karnataka now. Please understand the truth. The truth is that Mr. Jaitley keeps talking about a GST council. Let me tell you this categorically. If one or two states don't agree, the GST council still has a brutal majority to do what it wants. For example, if Karnataka disagrees, Karnataka can stand in isolation, but it will have to follow what is a larger decision taken by the GST council. This is a fact, and let's not try and lose sight of this reality. And Faye, one quick point I would like to add. Please remember that when Mr. Rahul Gandhi calls it a Gabbar Singh tax, it is not just, some kind of a soundbite. The Gabbar Singh story is very straightforward. That you have, by denying people their rightful claim to their cash flow, by making them pay amounts that they don't even know what they're paying for, you have created a sense of extortion. And the government has created a sense of entitlement, which is totally anti-democracy. It's anti-fair law. And that's the reason why we need to be worried about it.
Let me just clear something up. I just want to be able to understand this better. Zafar Islam, if I'm not mistaken, the votes in the GST council, one-third of which belong to the central government, two-thirds belong to state governments combined, of which BJP states right now hold the majority. And you need to have 50% of the votes in order to pass something, in order to make a decision. And so if you combine the BJP-led centre and the states, you have the numbers to make the decisions. Is that not true?
Exactly.
Zafar Islam.
So, Faye, let me respond to yes, you have you asked me a question. I will respond to that. But away from that, first let me respond to what Sanjay Jha said. Sanjay Jha said this GST structure has not been suggested or approved by Congress party. It is very absurd statement. This has been passed on the floor of the parliament with the majority, with every political parties participated and approved it, including Congress party. The only suggestion they were making, see, these kind of statements will not hold water because you were part of that process, and we acknowledge.
The Congress told you not more than 18%. Yes or no?
So let me revert to that. Let me respond to that. You suggested 18% across the board.
Gentlemen, Mr. Islam and Mr. Jha, while
we wanted, because you have to understand the dynamics of the country. The people, they have majority of the people who have their
Islam,
income
why
level
we
is
created
low,
the
and
GST
18% would
architecture,
have
we
been
knew
a
how to
burden on them.
implement it.
That's
You have
why
messed it
the
up.
government decided to have multiple
For God's
structures,
sake, don't be
rate
so
structure,
arrogant.
so that an ordinary and a commoner will need not to go through that pain, and they need to have enough money in their pocket.
So how
to
do you
spend.
justify
So you must know
28%
that.
then,
If you
Zafar
don't know,
Islam?
then you must,
How do you
find out the
justify
details before even
28%? So
commenting
there are
about
some
it.
items that
30.
went from
Sir,
15% tax to 28% tax overnight. How do we justify that?
Yeah.
No, all I'm suggesting that you do a back testing of all the rates which has been charged, whether it is 28% now or 18% or earlier. You have to do a back testing before making a generic statement that one particular rate for any particular product. If you do the back testing, you will realize that the government was extremely generous in deciding the rate, and all this.
And also, I'm going to ask Zafar Islam one more question, but before I go back to Mr. Chandan in Gujarat,
because people are going through some problem in filing the return, not with the rate, because overall inflation will further come out.
What about petrol and diesel?
What Mr. Grumurthy was saying about
what about petrol and diesel? What about petrol and diesel?
You are an economist. You
exactly.
know that.
That's a pertinent question.
See, so we have requested. We took the initiative. We requested. If Congress party is so vocal about the rate, why don't they reduce the VAT in their own state, in Karnataka, where they are ruling? So they will not.
What about it will not work? The question is, if we have one country, one tax, how do we have one nation, one tax except for petrol and diesel? Is my only point.
Because see, we are okay to bring it. We are ready to bring under GST, but there's a lot of resistance from the state. But over a period of time, it will come definitely.
But aren't the states also run by BJP governments at this point?
You have a majority.
You have a majority. Like I just proved to you, Zafar Islam, that you have a majority. You have a sweeping, unanimous majority.
Ask Sanjay Jha why Karnataka is not doing it. Why they are anti-people.
I'm sure they will also do it.
I'm sorry, I've given the politics enough time. I'm going to pull back from the politics. This BJP versus Congress thing I don't have time for. Pratap Chandan of the Gujarat Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Chandan. We just had Zafar Islam tell us that the government has been open and receptive to, but I want to understand the call centers, the people you have to reach out to or your members have to reach out to for help when they get into trouble. How well is that system working?
Completely
No,
failed.
that help desk system is not working properly. The real issues are very different. The whole channel of businessmen and traders or manufacturers, they should have been taken into confidence before implementing the new tax reform. So that has not been done. I think it has been done with a little haste. They should have given time. The real issue is not political. The issues are, where is the ease of doing business principle after all? There are so many points. You are not taken the people who are implementing it into confidence. They should have been taken into confidence. They should try to understand their real issues. My friend from BJP is diluting the matters that demand has not decreased or say supply is available. These are not the real issues. The real issues are how the shoe pinches to the people who are going to implement the whole system. They should better try to understand them. They should meet more frequently. They should listen to us more sympathetically and try to implement all the reforms that we are suggesting in the interest of the whole economy and nation. We are not opposing GST as such. So they could have done so many things. They can still do so many things, and they should do so many things.
No, we are not against those feedback coming from the trading community, from the business community. We are absolutely open to address the concern. So there is
I want to ask Mr. Zafar, when this GST was announced, the government has said very categorically after the GST prices of all the products will come down. Which are the items of the prices of the products have come down? There are hardly any items of prices of the products have come down. In fact, by having 18 and 28%, lot of money is being blocked in the inventory. and the margin is too low. That's why the middleman and the traders and the retailers are having a tough time in this competitive world to survive.
Sir,
and that is why the shops are closing. Kirana stores are closing.
Let me
where the prices of the products have not come down after the GST implementation,
let me respond to you.
I just want to bring in 1 second, Zafar Islam. Let me bring in Mohan Guruswamy. Mohan Guruswamy.
Sir, let me respond to you.
Yes, but I just have a question for Mohan Guruswamy. He hasn't spoken for a while. Mr. Guruswamy, I have a personal issue with 2 slabs of GST. One on essential medicines right now that have become more expensive because there's tax on them. Secondly, on packaged food. Now, we must realize that while loose food is not taxed at this point, we need in this country to be able to buy food with a guarantee of either purity without adulteration or cleanliness or just hygiene. The hygiene. Thank you. Yeah. The fact that all packaged food is taxed at this point is actually putting pressure on households.
Absolutely, and this is taxed at a much higher level. If you were taxing them at 5%, is so unpackaged food. Packaged food is mostly at 18 and 28%, and it really loads up the cost. Some medicines are also expensive. Life-saving drugs have got GST on them, and I can't understand the rationale of these kind of taxes. If you want to help the agriculture sector, then make sure that nothing down the line on agricultural produce is taxed. Why are you taxing almonds at one rate and cashew at another rate? Why are you taxing biscuits at one rate and bread at another rate? This is absurd. And because all of them are dependent on wheat and all of them help the farmer. So, you got to tax the sector-wise you got to have taxes. You can't have, that is where the confusion is. In one sector, you have half a dozen different kind of tax levels. Packaging costs something else, raw materials cost something else, and so this entire confusion in the market. And there's no logic. This whole business of, rich man's consumption, poor man's consumption has vitiated this complete system here. And exactly what the Zafar Islam was saying, that you got to look at poor people and rich people. And most of the people who are hit today on packaged goods are middle class people. How do you get guarantee of quality if you're going to pay high taxes? No, don't Guruswamy me. Okay, I know what you're going to say. Okay, so the point is that this whole thing is confused, it's chaotic, and the Revenue Secretary himself said yesterday that we're going to rationalize it and look at all this again. So why is this man defending it?
Right.
The Revenue Secretary Ajay himself made the announcement yesterday. So these rates we've got are not going to be there for very long. It's all going to come down.
What did I say? I also said that the feedback.
Don't ask me any questions here.
Go on, Zafar Islam, go on. Zafar Islam, go on.
There's no feedback. You are defending it so far.
Last point.
There are statements which I tend to agree with you, but there are certain statements you are making which I'm sorry, I'm not able to buy those arguments. And I definitely, if you do not want to hear, I may
you don't buy any argument,
avoid making that statement, but it doesn't mean that I agree with all the statements you are making.
But let me
I do buy argument, Mr. Guruswamy.
No, I don't.
No, Zafar Islam, I'm just going to make this really simple. And
I'd be in a very difficult position.
Right. The poor man's consumption and the rich man's consumption, and these are a couple of things that we brought up on this channel. One of which was biscuits. Glucose biscuits sold at 2 rupees for the smallest packet, used by the poorest in our urban cities as food for their children, is taxed at 18%. Cream biscuits are taxed at 28%. Now, you take away all aspiration if you say that a mother who wants to put a couple of cream biscuits in her child's dabba can't do it because it's a rich man's expense. And, if you don't have the money, you shouldn't buy cream biscuits. People in this country want to be able to buy clean packaged food for their children. Sanitary napkins. The fact that the GST Council did not reconsider tax on sanitary napkins. So poor women who might now have the ability to transition into going into using hygienic sanitary napkins, which they should because it saves their lives. The GST Council did not consider that appeal that was put before it. Essential medicines for poor people. There is no separate slab for it. There are several things, and if you're saying feedback, I don't know what you mean, because we've given so much feedback and it hasn't been taken seriously. I want to bring in Praveen Khandelwal here. Praveen Khandelwal, same point. I know you were saying something. Yes, Raghunathan, I'll come to you.
One point I'd like to make. Faye, one point I'd like to make.
Very quickly, Mr.
Faye,
Goswami.
one point I'd like to make. One point I'd like to raise here. Both Arun Jaitley and I are insulin-dependent diabetics. We live on insulin, and they've increased the tax on insulin. It's life-supporting for us, life-saving for us. And there are 30% of this country are incipient diabetics. And you're punishing them.
Essential medicines on blood pressure, on diabetes, that people have to take every day.
I want to
Yes.
I want to make my last point.
Yes, Raghunathan, go ahead.
Can I make my last point?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Syed, having listened to the debate from various sectors, I now request you, the treatment what is needed is for a treatment to a coma patient, but the government is acting as if you are treating a normal patient. You may end up treating the patient, but the patient may die. Please act fast. That's very important for you. If you do not act fast, we may not exist to see the changes what you want to bring it into this country. Please, that's my only plea for you.
They won't exist.
The matter is beyond what you think. You guys are not understanding the ground level realities. If even at 7th month of pregnancy, if you do not understand the child is going to come, you will never acknowledge it even if it is born. Please, wake up, open your eyes, understand the truth, apply brakes, and take into confidence the people around you. Just because we criticize, we are not against you. Take us into confidence, take us together, listen to us. Hear us out.
Mr. Raghunathan, are you telling me that the government has not asked for feedback from the All India Manufacturers Association up until now?
Not at all. Not at all. You read my first statement, which was issued on 15th of August, after the 1 month of the GST implementation. We have always been saying, we welcome all these reforms, but do not make it happen at the cost of our life.
At Kedarnath temple,
Right. Pradeep Khandelwal, same question to you. Confederation of All India Traders.
We have sought appointments. We have sought appointments with the finance minister, commerce minister, everywhere. We have sent out the expectation. The same what I read out now is not read out today. Even before the implementation of the GST, a panel of auditors were constituted by AMO. They studied, gave the precautions. Please prevent this. But
let me, can I just come in here, please?
One more voice. Praveen Khandelwal, has the Confederation of All India Traders been consulted by the government at any point?
Not at all. Till date, officially there is no communication either by the central government or by any state government or GST Council with Confederation of All India Traders. Of course, on our own, we have submitted various representations time and again. And during that representation, we had some discussion with some senior people, but that doesn't constitute a regular dialogue with the trading community.
Right. Same question to Mr. Prakash Chandan from the Gujarat Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Have you been consulted by anybody so far on GST?
No. They have listened to us. Say we have, as Mr. Khandelwal has said, we have time and again represented many problems. They always say we will represent it to GST Council, but the result is not to our satisfaction. As I earlier said, they could have listened to us more sympathetically. They could have taken more practical decisions, and they could have avoided so many difficulties that the small people, small businessmen, whether they are traders, service providers or the manufacturers are facing. They can do many things in this. There are so many points we have represented, but as you know, on 6th October, they have decided on certain things. They have postponed RCM, they have postponed e-way bill, but they have not taken any policy decision to remove it, which is to us it is quite unnecessary to have RCM. There are so many difficulties to the people.
Just give me
So
30
they could
seconds,
have,
Faye, just to
taken more practical
respond to all
and
of
more
them.
sympathetic decisions in this regard.
Right. Go ahead. Mr. Zafar Islam, go ahead. What feedback are you talking about if these big associations in India have not been consulted even once,
again,
not been given an appointment and not blocked?
See, no, the feedback what they have given, and I'm definitely going to convey this to the competent authority. But having said that, I would also say that the same GST Council has constituted a committee of the state finance ministers to look into all the suggestions have been coming from the different quarters, from the trading community, from the manufacturing community, from the service providers community, and those will be evaluated by not us, by the competent group of state finance minister represented by even Congress for other parties, Bharatiya Janata Party, and those decisions will be definitely taken because that has 15 days have been given to that committee to review everything and come back with this suggestion, which can be a very good solution for all the stakeholders they are complaining here. But having said that, also, as Mr. Raghunathan was suggesting, and Mr. Viren and others, definitely I'm going to convey all the feedback they have communicated.
Mr. Zafar Islam, I respect the fact that you will convey this feedback, but you shouldn't have to wait until there is a panel discussion on a television channel to convey feedback from the All India Manufacturers Association, the Confederation of All India Traders, and the Federation of Retail Traders Welfare. This should be of easy access to the government.
This is a transition process, Mrs. Faye, and see, so all I'm saying that these feedbacks may be already with the government, or may, if at all they feel that they have not got the opportunity to represent whatever the representation they want to make. All I'm saying that I will extend that additional support in terms of conveying their message to the competent authority, even though I know that this is duplication of work because they will have all this feedback from their community already with the government.
I have to make one point that what Mr. Zafar Islam was talking about, constitution of a committee, and they have to file their report in 15 days. 12 days have already gone, only 3 days have left, and till date neither they have consulted any of the organization nor we have sought appointment, they have not given his appointment.
Also, Mr. Zafar, when Mr. Prime Minister speaks to the people of our country, he always talks about the smallest of the small traders. But when it comes to going to the government, they always listen to the big industry houses, either FICCI or CII, Confederation of Industrial, all those big industry houses have been taken into consultation, taken their representation.
That's not true.
When it comes to the smallest of the small traders
that's
group,
not true.
no representation has been taken.
You outrightly?
No, that's not true that we listen to only those people. That's not true.
Of course.
We listen to every man, a common man on the street.
No, but you know, you're now giving us rhetoric, Zafar Islam, because we have people on the panel who tell us otherwise, that they have not been given appointments, that their feedback has not been considered. And these are not small associations.
You're making that you listen to. This is a body, FICCI is a body what is FICCI? Which is a body which represents a community. And that community is a collective feedback from the community.
They are not small traders in that group.
So the government has
Zafar bhai, we are representing more than 6 crore traders in the country. What you are talking
this
about?
kind of a statement that we only listen to them, that's not the fact. हम सभी का सुनते हैं भाई. हमारे सरकार सबका सुनती है.
आप सिर्फ बोलते हो, आप सिर्फ बोलते हो बड़ी-बड़ी सभा में तालियां बजाने के लिए. लेकिन it comes to the ground reality, no traders association, small or medium size of all over country, they are not been taken into consideration. They always been ignored, sir, for many years. Even earlier ruling party also ignored us. Today's party also, they speak in front of the lakhs and lakhs of people. When they go to Bhavnagar, Gujarat election, they talk about the smaller traders. When it comes to bringing the GST, when more than 6 crore traders are there in India, no one has been taken into consideration. 90% of the people are from unorganized sector, which are the medium and small size sectors. Only organized sectors have been listened to, and that is 7% of the people are been represented. But 90% of the organizations are never consulted for this kind of GST or any other reforms.
There was one view that traders have never paid tax before, and the main complaint is about the fact that they don't want to pay tax. Is that true?
Well, I would like to, I do not want to, because every business there are black sheep.
No.
And yes, there are some section of the trading communities are not paying taxes, but that does not mean all the traders are not paying taxes. Yes, we agree there are traders who do not pay taxes. Some of the sections of the traders group, they don't pay taxes, but we are educating them. That's why the government, we always request them to have the smaller taxes, less than 18% of the tax, get more people into the tax regime, let more people to pay the taxes, and that should be the intention.
Pratap Chandan, there have been series of protests in the state of Gujarat against GST. Do you believe that this government has been receptive, because all of the political speeches talk about how small traders should work with the government?
Yeah, but as I earlier said, they should listen more sympathetically to it and solve the problems, the real problems that we have already represented to them. Mere paying lip sympathy is not enough. As for example, take the example of branded foods items. It is a basic grains, atta, pulses. There were no taxes on it. Now they have put a 5% tax on branded things. And again, while defining the branded things, they have put up one more condition. Even if they are not registered, they say that even if there is an actionable claim, then they will be considered registered or branded. So they are making things more complicated sometimes. Why they are not becoming more practical, that we fail to understand.
Right. I'm going to give one last word.
Lot of rationalization of tax structure is also required. 28% slab is an absurd thing. There are so many things you cannot pay 28% tax. Even consumers will resist, and they will compel traders not to issue invoices. They will create another channel which will so it will go against the interest of economy. If you want to make more people to come under the tax net, you have to make it more simpler, more plausible, more understandable.
So Pratap Chandan, in Gujarat, is it a good and simple tax, or is it a Gabbar Singh tax?
Revenue will also increase. No, I would not go into Gabbar Singh type of rhetorics, but it should be made good and simple tax. There are a lot of things to be done to make it in real terms a good and simple tax. They can make it.
All right, we've run out of time, but Pratap Chandan says it should be a good and simple tax, suggesting that perhaps right now it is not a good and simple tax. But I want to quote a couple of things that E. Raghunathan said on the show. He's the national president of the All India Manufacturers Association. He said, the patient is in a coma, stop treating it with paracetamol. If we don't act in a hurry, then we will not be able to save this patient, and that's important. There was another point made on this show that says the GST Council, when making such a big decision, should be meeting every day and not meeting in the kind of wide gaps of those meetings that they have had. The appeal at this point to the government is that the reaction does not match the problem. The reaction should be that of emergency. The reaction should be that of resuscitation of this market at this point. People need help. Your helplines are not working. Your websites are not working. There aren't enough tax experts in the country to give advice to 6 crore traders and 550,000 small manufacturers at this point. All of these people need help, and they're not getting the help that they need. So finally, in conclusion, it does seem, if we go by the associations who were represented on the panel today, that India is being hurt by the GST, and not by the idea of GST, but by the implementation right now and the lack of reaction from the government to the problems that people are facing. We appeal to the government of India to quickly do something, because every one of us in all of our families have somebody who's self-employed, somebody who's an entrepreneur, and somebody who's running their own business. If these people are run out of jobs, then everybody they employ will lose their jobs. And we will start a domino effect that we will not be able to stop. Please, Mr. Finance Minister, I hope you were paying attention to this show. Thanks for watching.